Hello and welcome to Whisky Resource. My name's Mark. This is review number 26. I'm going to continue with 10-year-old whiskies, and today I'm going to be looking at Talisker 10-year-old. So Talisker 10, widely available in most online and retail stores in the high street. It's a Diageo bottling. So if you have a look at the bottle and compare it to a Lagavulin, it's the same bottle. They use pretty much the same bottles in most of Taliskers. Sorry, most of Diageo's bottlings. I'm just looking at this inner label here, which is just from some dude who's just wrote something in there. Anyway, enough of that. Right. So, Talisker 10-year-old. Most of you have probably tried this at some point. It's quite often found sitting around £40 in retail stores, sometimes on offer. I believe Asda particularly do promotions on it, dropping it to about £31. However, online, average retail price of £41.98. It has an ABV of 45.8%. Why they didn't just round that up to 46 to hit that magic number, don't know. Pretty much all of Talisker's core bottlings sit at the same ABV of 45.8. There are a couple of exceptions, such as the 57 Degrees, which is bottled at 57% ABV. And that really refers to the latitude of where the Isle of Skye, which is where this is distilled, lies. We'll come back onto that in a moment. So it's chill filtered and it has E150 caramel colour added. Now, on the subject of E150 caramel, there is no mention on the bottle, on the front or back label. On the box, however, the very bottom there's text in 3 languages. So if I choose the middle text, which says, because it's really small, it says Forstoff Tillat Caramel. That's Danish for dye added caramel. So it's got caramel colour in. I've had this mentioned before that it annoys me that bottles and boxes are not saying in English that they've got caramel added. Now, I know there's no legal requirement to say that in Britain. In Germany, they need to, and by the looks of it, it's the same for Poland and the Netherlands. It's also got it in Italian, I believe, and there's another language there, I think. Anyway, so why don't they put it in English? Why don't they say that it's got caramel? I mean, you can see that is quite a dark colour, and on their own website they say that the colour is a brilliant gold. Okay, brilliant gold. It's chill filtered, so chill filtration and caramel colour. They don't mention either facts on their website. You have to root around to find out that they are indeed chill filtered, as is pretty much all of the Diageo core range bottlings that sit at below 46% ABV. I'm not aware of any that aren't chill filtered. Doesn't mean it's going to be a bad drop. It just means that it's not the best that it could be. Bottled at 46%, okay, it's slightly below, so we can forgive it for that. The colour issue, it doesn't really make much difference. It's the integrity, the honesty telling us. But the fact that it's chill filtered, there's elements in the whiskey. It spent time in the cask, 10 years in this instance, maturing, and then the filter some of that nice, tasty elements away for clarity of colour. I'm not sure. I'd like to try a bottle that hasn't been chill filtered to make my own mind up on that. Let the subject lie. Anyway, so they don't say much about its cask maturation. In fact, they don't say anything on their website, but it is a bourbon cask maturation whiskey. So that's pretty much all to say, except for the Isle of Skye. So it's the only whiskey distilled on the Isle of Skye, which leads us on to another product which where's that product? Oh yes, yeah, mentions the Isle of Skye liqueur, Drambuie. Don't know if you've ever had a Drambuie. I like it. Some people don't. It's a Marmite of the liqueur world. Some people like it, some people don't. But Drambuie does not have, as far as we can tell, Talisker in it. Talisker is the only whiskey from the Isle of Skye. What's in Drambuie? Well, Drambuie is a blend of Speyside and Highland whiskies, as far as we can tell, because a lot of these things you don't actually know. They don't actually tell you. It's all corporate secrets. In fact, Drambuie, the recipe of which is only known by 3 individuals. So there we go. But Drambuie basically is the Isle of Skye liqueur because Bonnie Prince Charlie went to the Isle of Skye and gave up his secret recipe for his elixir to residents of the Isle of Skye for taking him in while he was having to escape a war. Oh, that's another subject. That's another thing. I don't intend to do a review of Drambuie, but I am going to do a review of Talisker 10. So, with an average retail price of £41.98, bottled at 45.8% ABV, chill filtered, E150, you get an average value score of 88.60. It scored quite highly simply because the ABV is nearly hitting that 46%, which is where we like to see it. So on the nose, it's briny, it's fruity, it's sweet. There's some of that peat smoke coming in there. The brininess is similar to a Campbelltown type of brine. Not as intense as a Campbelltown, but it is there. There's a bit of alcohol burn. It does smell nice. It is inviting on the taste. So it's fruity. It's not quite as sweet and intense as the nose would suggest. On the finish, it's very spicy. A little bit of sweet citrus. It's not particularly sweet, but there's a kind of sweet citrus amongst that. Salty. The peat smoke intensity isn't quite as much as the nose. It is a warming dram. The alcohol does help quite nicely. With this, you can taste it. It does add to that nice warming. It is an enjoyable dram. And I add a bit of water in. So I'm going to pour in 3. Because there's still quite a bit there in the glass. And we'll want to see how far this can go. So if you haven't seen me Campbelltown review I did of the double cask, go ahead and check that out, because that is a similar type of whiskey in that it's a maritime influenced whiskey. It's also, the double cask is bourbon matured, then it's also sherry matured, whereas this is just bourbon. So it's a good way of seeing how a similar type of whiskey can have a different influence and how it would adjust. That's toned down that peat slightly, that peat smoke. It's calmed off the sweetness, and it is a little bit more fruity. The maritime salt influence, that brine, it's still there. I would say that's not really toned much. It's got a bitter finish to it, and then you've got loads of spices that come in and attack you. So, in terms of where this sits in the core range, it's the 10-year-old. So it's the youngest of the age statement whiskies. Up there, I've got the Talisker Storm, which is a non-age statement version, bottled at the same ABV. That is more spice intense. And then just in front of it, I've got a little miniature of the Talisker Skye, which is, again, it's a non-age statement, and that's less spicy than the 10-year-old. So it gives you the three to compare. There is a review, I believe I've still got online, which is it'll be the first review in me collection, which is a comparison between the three Taliskers. So where do I think this sits on a overall score? I'm going to give it a 40. No, I'm going to give it a 86 overall. It's a drink, it's a dram that you'd probably have before you move on to the Isles, the heavy peated Isles. You could potentially have it at the beginning of the evening, but only if you're going to be having quite high ABV whiskies, or maybe the more intense Islay whiskies afterwards. You really wouldn't want to start the evening on a Talisker unless you were only going to be drinking that and then moving on to heavy stuff. It would need to be quite heavily watered in order to kind of tone down that peat. And I apologise, my laptop fan is once again kicking in. The laptop's not even doing anything. Anyway, that's review number 26. Talisker 10-year-old gets 86. I've only got a couple more 10-year-olds to review before I start looking at older age statement whiskies, as well as looking at other non-age statements with the odd different age statement whiskies in there. Okay, so thank you very much. There's